My wife's 40th birthday ended with her kissing another man on a 20-foot screen. Yeah, you heard me right. The lights dropped inside the Piedmont room. Everyone clapped, thinking they were about to watch her cute little slideshow. Instead, the first slide said, "A 2-year investigation." And then, boom, a photo of Danielle wrapped around a guy who sure as hell wasn't me. 80 people froze. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Her father's glass hit the floor. Danielle's smile died on the spot. And me? I just stood there and said, "Truth hurts. Watch closely." If that opening punch shocked you, stick around. Subscribe, drop a comment, and buckle up. This only gets messier. Before you judge what I did that night, you need to know what I was trying to hold together. My name's Clayton Monroe, 45. I've spent 18 years under the same fluorescent lights at Walmart, name tag on my chest, feet aching by noon. Assistant manager, nothing fancy. But the bills get paid, the lights stay on, and there's always dinner on the table. Most evenings I'd walk through the front door, drop my keys in the same ceramic bowl, and smell something cooking. Madison, my 11-year-old, would come barreling into the kitchen, talking about some science project or playground drama. I'd listen, even when I was dead on my feet, because that kid is my whole world. Danielle would be there too, across from me at that old wooden table, plate in front of her, phone in her hand, half listening, half scrolling. I told myself that quiet was normal, that this was what marriage looks like after a decade. Routine, familiar, safe. I'm not rich, I don't drive anything impressive, but I show up. I put food on the table every single day. I really believed a decent man and a steady home would be enough for her. It never was. And to understand why, you gotta know where Danielle came from. Danielle grew up in a different universe than mine. While I was mowing neighbors' yards for gas money, she was the girl whose daddy solved problems with a checkbook. 16 years old, she got a brand new car with a giant red bow on it. My first car was older than I was and smelled like someone else's cigarettes. Her father's a real estate guy with that old Southern money swagger. Country club, tailored shirts, the whole thing. And even though he didn't live in our house, his shadow sure as hell did. Anytime something wasn't perfect, his ghost showed up. Dad would have hired someone to fix this. Dad always made sure Mom had spa days. Dad never let the yard look like that. I'd sit there at the table, grease still on my hands from changing the oil in our car, listening to her measure me against a man I could never compete with. Not in dollars, not in gestures. The truth is, I wasn't trying to be her father. I was trying to be her husband. I wasn't her father. I was the man paying the bills. And when being a good husband still isn't enough in your own house, that's when the first cracks start to show. After a while, it wasn't just the comments about her dad anymore. It was the way the house started to feel wrong. Danielle got cold. Not overnight, but piece by piece. Dinner went from talking about our day, to her half listening, to her not saying much of anything at all. I'd ask how work was and get, "Fine." I'd ask if everything was okay and get, "I'm just tired, Clayton. Drop it." The headaches showed up next. Anytime I reached for her in bed, it was, "I've got a headache," or "I'm stressed," or "Not tonight," week after week, month after month. You can tell when your wife doesn't want you anymore. You feel it before she even opens her mouth. Even our texts changed. I used to get little pictures, jokes, "miss you" in the middle of my shift. Then it turned into one-word answers. Okay? Sure. K. You can lie with your words, but you can't fake energy. The whole house felt like it was shrinking around me, like I was an unwelcome guest in my own living room. I told myself I was being paranoid. But deep down, when a woman's got secrets, you feel it in your bones. Still, I kept swallowing it, kept telling myself marriage has ups and downs, that this was just a rough patch. Then came the night that ripped the blindfold off. It was around 2 a.m. when I woke up. The other side of the bed was empty, sheets cold. At first I thought she was in the kitchen getting water, but there was this faint glow coming from under the bathroom door. I walked over barefoot, half asleep, and heard it. This soft little laugh I hadn't heard from her in months. Not for me, anyway. I opened the door a crack. She was sitting on the edge of the tub in her t-shirt, phone in her hand, screen lighting up her face, smiling. Really smiling. The kind of smile you save for someone you're excited about. The second she saw me, the smile vanished. She tilted the phone away, locked it like she'd been caught stealing. "Who are you texting at 2 in the damn morning?" I asked. She didn't even blink. "Nobody. Just scrolling. Go back to bed, Clayton." Just scrolling. At 2 a.m. in the dark, hiding her screen from her husband. That broke something inside me. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. Just lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the bathroom fan hum and my own pulse in my ears. By morning, I felt hollow and wired at the same time. On my lunch break, I sat in my truck in the Walmart parking lot, engine off, phone in my hand. I must have stared at Luke's name for a full minute before I finally hit call. He picked up on the second ring. "What's up, big bro? You sound rough." I told him about the distance, the headaches, the late nights, and finally, the glow of that bathroom light at 2 a.m., the way she smiled at that phone like I'd never existed. He got quiet. Luke's the type who jokes about everything, but not this time. "Clay, you can't live like that, man. You either trust her or you find out the truth. But you don't just sit there wondering. That'll eat you alive." I hesitated. What if I'm wrong? What if I blow up my marriage over nothing? He didn't flinch. "If she's clean, you'll sleep better. If she's not, you need to know. A man's got to do what a man's got to do." That's when I knew this wasn't just in my head anymore. A couple days later, I drove out to this little diner in Marietta Luke told me about. The kind of place with cracked red booths and coffee that's always a little burnt, but no one complains because it's cheap and hot. That's where I met Jack Collins. Late 50s, gray at the temples, eyes that looked like they'd seen every kind of lie a person could tell. He slid into the booth across from me, set a worn leather folder on the table, and let me talk. I laid it all out. Her schedule, the overtime, the girls' nights, the gym obsession, the 2 a.m. bathroom scene. He didn't interrupt, just nodded slowly, tapping his pen against a yellow notepad. "Here's how this works," he finally said. "You pay a retainer, $5,000. I follow her. I pull what I can from public records, social media, whatever's legal. I build you a timeline. No guessing, just facts. And $5,000 is a lot of money when you live on Walmart Pay, but not knowing was costing me more. I stared at the pen for a second, then signed. Jack closed the folder, slid it into his bag, and looked me dead in the eye. "I'll be straight with you when I call, Clayton. Whatever I find, it's not good." It took Jack just under 3 weeks to call me back. We met at the same diner in Marietta, same booth, same burnt coffee. This time he'd brought a thick manila folder that hit the table with a sound I'll never forget. "Clayton," he said, "you were right to call me." I opened it, and the first photo damn near took the air out of my lungs. Danielle in Buckhead, outside a nice restaurant, leaning into some guy in a dress shirt, his hand on her lower back, her face tilted up to his, their mouths way too close for just friends. Next set, a midtown hotel, different day, same woman, different man. She's walking in beside him, fingers laced with his like they've done it 100 times. Page after page, Buckhead, midtown, parking lots, restaurants, hotels. Every picture stamped with dates and times. Jack had laid them out next to screenshots of her texts to me. "Working late tonight. Clinic slammed, don't wait up." The timestamps matched perfectly. I kept flipping, hands shaking until it hit me. These weren't just random nights. This was a schedule. 2 different faces. 1 familiar woman. My wife wasn't just living a double life. She was running 2 of them. Jack started walking me through the men like he was reading off a police report. He tapped the first guy in the photos. "This one's named Ryan Matthews, sales rep. He calls on the dermatology clinic your wife works at. Farm stuff, skin treatments, that kind of thing. Comes in regular." I remembered hearing his name once or twice. Danielle had brushed it off. Just a guy from work. Right, just a guy from work with his hands around my wife's waist. Another photo. Danielle and Ryan outside a nice spot in Buckhead. Soft light. Her dressed up in a way she never did for me anymore. They're kissing. Not drunk bar stupid kissing. Familiar kissing. Behind the photo, Jack had stapled a receipt. Same date. 2 entrees, A bottle of wine that cost more than I spend on groceries some weeks. Dessert. Then he flipped to a shot of Ryan's car parked behind a hotel. One frame of him going in alone. The next, Danielle slipping in the side door a few minutes later. Paper clipped to that was a printout from our joint credit card. Same date, same hotel. Charge highlighted in yellow. Underneath, Jack had typed one line in bold. Told husband, working late. Then Jack flipped to the second man. This one's Troy Adams, he said, personal trainer, works at that fancy gym she joined. I remembered that phase. I just want to get healthy, Clayton. New leggings, new sports bras showing up in Amazon boxes, gym 4-5 times a week. I was proud of her for a minute. Thought maybe she was turning things around. Jack laid out the photos. Danielle walking into the gym with him, laughing. Danielle leaving with him, not looking like she'd just finished a workout. One shot of them outside a smoothie place, his arm around her shoulders like he owned her. Then he pulled out the screenshots. Troy's public Instagram stories. Him posting a boomerang of 2 wine glasses clinking, captioned, "Married chick from the gym can't get enough. Her husband's stuck at Walmart while I'm training her." Same car model as Danielle's in the background. Same damn gym logo on the towel on the table. Jack told me his account went private a day later, but he'd already saved everything. Seeing another man brag about my wife using my job as a punchline, that hit different. He wasn't just sleeping with her, he was laughing at me. I thought the photos were the worst of it. I was wrong. That night, I logged into our joint credit card, 2 years of statements. I didn't have to print anything. The pattern punched me in the face right on the screen. Hotels, midday rooms, Buckhead restaurants, spa days, all lined up perfectly with every lie she'd texted me. Clinic slammed. Hotel charge at 3:42 p.m. Working late. Steakhouse bill the size of my grocery budget. And then the one that broke me, our anniversary. While I was at home cooking mac and cheese with our daughter, she spent over $300 at a place we had never been together. I didn't need a detective to explain it. The numbers told the truth she never would. Just when I thought the credit card bills were the final punch, Jack called again. "Someone wants to talk," he said. It was a woman who'd sat near Danielle months earlier at a restaurant. She didn't know us well, so she ignored the conversation, until my name came up. Danielle wasn't whispering either. "He's boring. Just a Walmart manager. I spend my money how I want. He'll never know." The woman didn't owe me anything, but it bothered her enough to step forward when Jack started asking around. And that's when the hurt stopped being hurt and turned into clarity. Once you see someone clearly, you can't unsee them. I sat at Luke's kitchen table one night with all the evidence spread out. Photos, receipts, screenshots, that witness statement. He flipped through it all, shaking his head. "This is brutal, Clay," he said. "What are you gonna do?" "I'm done being the quiet guy who just takes it," I told him. "She lied to me in private for 2 years. She trashed my name behind my back. She spent my money on these clowns. I'm not letting her walk away playing the victim." That's when her birthday came up. The big 4-0 she'd been bragging about for months. Venue booked, DJ hired, about 80 people invited. Her family, her work friends, her gym buddies, some of mine. "And she wants a slideshow," I said. "Cute baby pictures, wedding photos, perfect little life." Luke just looked at me, then at the folder. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" We worked it out piece by piece. Used the venue's projector. No USB she could touch. Luke would run everything off his own laptop. Time the reveal during the speech. Make sure Madison was out of the room with my sister when it happened. My daughter didn't need those images burned into her head. Her party wasn't going to be a fairy tale. Her party would be the court of truth. Once the plan for the party was in my head, I knew I couldn't just act out of anger. I needed the law on my side. I booked a consultation with a divorce attorney Luke recommended, Angela Pierce. Downtown Atlanta office, walls full of degrees and framed verdicts. I walked in with that same beat-up folder Jack had given me, plus the credit card statements and witness statement. She didn't smile much, just put on her glasses and went through everything page by page. "Georgia still cares about adultery," she said. "If we can prove her affairs are the reason for the separation, it changes everything, especially alimony." I told her about the house, how my mom had signed it over to me before I ever met Danielle, how there was a prenup, drawn up and reviewed by her own father's lawyer, that clearly said the house was mine, separate property. Angela nodded. "That prenup is solid. The house is safe. She stacked the photos, the screenshots, the receipts into a neat pile and looked me right in the eye. "With this evidence," she said, calm as a hammer, "she gets no alimony." The marriage was dying either way. At least my daughter and I wouldn't lose our home with it. Once the legal pieces were lined up, there was still one thing keeping me up at night: Madison. I could live with Danielle hating me. I could live with her father cursing my name. But I couldn't live with my little girl being collateral damage in some revenge show. So I sat down with my older sister, Rebecca, at my kitchen table, told her exactly what I planned to do at the party. She didn't like it, but she understood. "I'm not letting Maddie see those pictures," I said. "Not Ryan, not Troy, not her mom like that." We worked out a simple plan. When it was time for the slideshow, Rebecca would lean over and say, "Hey, let's go look at the fountain outside." The Piedmont room has this nice courtyard with a lit-up fountain. Pretty, quiet, far away from a giant screen full of betrayal. I also made myself a promise. I would never badmouth her mother in front of her. Not once. Not even when it burned. I rehearsed answers in my head for the questions I knew would come later. How to tell the truth without poisoning her. I looked at my sister and said it out loud, just so someone else heard it. "She's innocent. She won't see this." The night of the party, I'll be honest, my stomach was in knots. The Piedmont room looked like something out of a magazine. White tablecloths, candles, big windows showing the skyline. Her dad had dropped serious money on it, and he made sure everyone knew. He was in rare form, shaking hands, patting backs, telling people how proud he was of his baby girl turning 40. Meanwhile, Danielle floated around the room in a new dress, smiling, hugging people, soaking up every compliment. She introduced Ryan to a few folks as a rep we work with at the clinic. Nice suit, fake humble grip, eyes that wouldn't quite meet mine. A little later I spotted Troy with the gym crowd. Tight shirt, too much confidence, laughing like life was one long joke. Most people there had no idea they were looking at the cast of a disaster. I played my part, kissed her on the cheek, helped her with gifts, smiled for photos, the devoted husband who married up. When her dad finally tapped his glass and asked everyone to sit, I caught my sister's eye. She leaned over to Madison and whispered about the pretty fountain outside. They slipped out right as the venue guy rolled down the screen. The DJ killed the music. The room went dim. I heard the projector fan start to hum. Showtime. The first slide that popped up wasn't the baby picture Danielle was expecting. Big white letters on a black background. A 2-year investigation. At first, people chuckled, thought it was some kind of joke. Then the next click hit. There she was, Danielle, on that screen, 20 feet wide, in Buckhead, outside that restaurant Jack had showed me. Her body pressed up against Ryan's, his hand on her hip, their mouths locked together like they hadn't a care in the world. Underneath the picture, in plain text, "Told husband, working late." The room went dead quiet. You could feel the air change. Another click. A Midtown hotel entrance. Danielle walking in beside Troy, fingers laced with his, both of them smiling. Same woman, different man. New caption this time. "Told husband, at the gym." Someone in the back said, "Oh my God." Another person let out this nervous little laugh that died halfway out. I could hear whispers starting to ripple through the tables. Danielle shot up from her chair, face drained of color. "What is this?" she screamed. "Turn it off! Turn it off right now!" But Luke was in the back with the laptop, and we were only on slide 3. After the photos, the screen switched to something colder. Numbers. Line after line of highlighted charges, each timed perfectly with a lie. Clinics short-staffed. Buckhead Steakhouse. Doctor added me to the schedule. Day use hotel room. One by one, her messages and the receipts synced like a choreographed betrayal. And then our anniversary slide appeared. Nobody breathed. If the receipts stung, the next slides burned. The screen changed to a screenshot of an Instagram story. Troy's account, his profile picture, his handle. No way to pretend it was anyone else. Caption across the top. Married chick from the gym can't stay away. Under it, 2 wine glasses clinking. In the blurred background, a car that looked an awful lot like Danielle's. Same color, same shape. Next slide, another story, same account. This time, the words hit me in the gut. Her husband stuck at Walmart while I'm training her. The word Walmart lit up on that giant screen like a spotlight on my pride. A picture of Troy from the gym page popped up beside it. Same face as the guy walking into the hotel with Danielle in Jack's photos. No way out. No, that's not him. Then a final screenshot. His profile set to private. A little lock symbol by his name, time-stamped right after those stories went up. People in the room started whispering my job under their breath. Walmart. Oh, damn. Someone actually said, "Oh my God," out loud. He didn't just sleep with my wife. He used my life as a joke for his followers. And that was the moment the room finally turned on them, not me. By the time those last screenshots faded, the whole room was buzzing, eyes bouncing between the screen, Danielle, and me. I stood up. My chair scraped loud enough that a few people jumped. Danielle was still shouting at Luke to stop, voice cracking, mascara running. Her dad was cussing under his breath. Everyone was waiting for me to explode. But I didn't yell. My voice came out low and steady. "For 2 years," I said, "I've been busting my back at Walmart. 50 hours a week, thinking I was building a life with my wife." I pointed at the screen. Meanwhile, she's out here with him, telling everybody I'm boring, that I'm just some discount retail manager. I looked right at her. "You didn't just betray me, Danielle. You chose cheap thrills over your own family. 2 years of lies, 2 years of using my money to fund it." I felt my hands shaking, so I locked them together. "You want to call me controlling, petty, vindictive?" I said. "Fine. Say what you want about me as a man." I paused. Let it sit. "But you dragged our daughter into this when you blew up her home. You didn't just disrespect me, you disrespected our daughter." And that's when her whole side of the room finally broke. The moment those words left my mouth, it was like someone kicked a hornet's nest. Her mother started sobbing, full body shaking, clutching a napkin like it could hold her together. Her younger brother Ethan stood up so fast his chair tipped. "Danielle," he said, voice shaking, "is this true? Did you really do all this?" She opened her mouth, but nothing came out, just a choking sound. Her dad, on the other hand, came straight for me, at least with his words. "You son of a bitch," he barked. "You had no right to do this. None. You're sick. You're cruel. You ruined her birthday." I didn't even look at him. I kept my eyes on Danielle. A couple of her friends from the clinic suddenly found their purses incredibly interesting and started heading for the door. The gym crowd went quiet, peeling away from Troy like he'd grown a second head. People were squeezing past each other, tripping over chairs, trying to get out before it got worse. I glanced toward the back of the room to see if Ryan was still there. He wasn't. Somewhere between the first hotel slide and Troy's little brag, the work friend had vanished without a trace. After the shouting, after the gasps, after Danielle's voice had gone hoarse from screaming, "Turn it off!" Luke clicked one last time. The photos disappeared. The receipts, the hotel bills, the screenshots, all gone. The screen went black for half a second. Then a new slide came up. No pictures this time, just white text on a dark background. "Filed for divorce, last Friday." People shifted in their seats. Another line faded in underneath. "House is mine, protected by prenup." Her dad stopped yelling for a second. Next line, "Adultery documented, no alimony under Georgia law." You could almost hear the lawyers in the room doing the math in their heads. And then the last one, "Seeking primary custody of our daughter." No drama, no flames, just simple sentences, each one landing harder than the last. When the slide faded to black for good, the projector clicked off. The DJ didn't turn the music back on. Nobody moved. Then the overhead lights came up all at once, bright and unforgiving. Every face in that room looked different in that light. For the first time in 2 years, I didn't feel crazy. I knew exactly what I was doing next. Once the lights were on, the party was over, whether anyone wanted to admit it or not. People started grabbing their jackets, clinging to their purses like life rafts. Nobody was talking about turning the music back up or bringing out dessert. They were just trying to escape the wreckage. I didn't say another word. Luke closed the laptop, slid it into his bag, and gave me a small nod. Job done. No victory lap, no gloating. Her dad started back up, though. "You're finished, you hear me?" he shouted. "I'll ruin you in court. You think this little show is clever? I'll make sure you regret this for the rest of your life." I let him rage. I'd already heard worse in my own head at 3 in the morning. I just adjusted my jacket, took one last look at Danielle, collapsed in her chair, makeup streaked, clutching a napkin like it was a lifeline, and turned toward the door. As I stepped into the hallway, the sound hit me all at once. Crying, cursing, chairs scraping, glass clinking. Then the door swung shut behind me, and it all dropped to a dull, muffled hum. For the first time in a long time, it was quiet. I wasn't done hurting, not even close, but I was finally done pretending. Out in the hallway, I took a breath and reminded myself why I'd done any of this in the first place. My sister had taken Madison out to the courtyard during the slideshow, just like we planned. The Piedmont room has this fountain with colored lights shining up through the water. When I walked out there, Maddie was standing by the edge, watching the water spill over the stone like it was the only thing in the world that made sense. She turned when she heard my footsteps. "Dad, what happened? Why is everyone leaving?" I heard yelling. There are a lot of things a man can lie about to protect himself. Lying to your kid to avoid a hard truth shouldn't be one of them. I knelt down so we were eye to eye. "Sweetheart, your mom and we're going to get a divorce." Her face crumpled. Her face. "Did I do something wrong?" I shook my head. "No, this is not your fault. Not even a little. Your mom and I made mistakes. Adults do that. But we both love you. That will never change." She started crying, arms wrapping around my neck like she was afraid I'd disappear. I held her tight and whispered into her hair, more for her than for me. "Truth matters, kiddo, even when it hurts." The morning after the party felt like the hangover from a fight I hadn't drunk for. I'd already filed for divorce the day before the party. Angela had everything lined up so service would happen Monday morning. All that was left was to let the process start. Around 10 a.m., my phone buzzed. Danielle's name lit up the screen. I almost let it go to voicemail, but I picked up. Her voice came in hot. No hello, no pause. "How could you do that to me? At my birthday? In front of everyone?" she screamed. "I'm going to take you for everything. The house, your retirement. You'll never see Madison again, you hear me?" I let her get it out. Years of her words had already cut me deeper than anything she could throw now. When she finally took a breath, I said one sentence. "Talk to my lawyer." "What? You coward?" I didn't answer. I just moved the phone away from my ear, hit end, and set it face down on the table. Then I started packing a couple of boxes, clothes, some personal stuff, important papers. I loaded them into my truck. For a few days, I'd stay at Luke's place, let the dust settle, get my head straight. The house was still legally mine, but for now, distance was worth more than walls. Angela stacked everything into one thick file: photos, messages, financials, witness statements. "They're coming hard," she said. "Her father hired heavy hitters. They'll reframe everything." She walked me through their likely tactics: emotional abuse, controlling husband. The slideshow proved instability. Then she tapped the folder. "But they can't outrun dates, charges, and faces on camera. We're not arguing feelings. We're arguing facts." For the first time, the fear in my chest eased. We weren't going to court emotional. We were going to court loaded. It didn't take long for her side to show their teeth. Her father hired a guy named Gregory Shore, big-name divorce attorney out of a shiny glass building in Midtown. You could almost smell the billable hours through the paperwork. The first set of filings from their side read like I was married to a different woman. According to them, Danielle was a neglected, emotionally abused spouse. They painted me as cold, controlling, obsessed with money and image, using the slideshow as psychological punishment. The affairs? Those were framed as emotional connections she fell into after years of being dismissed and unheard. They wanted alimony, a slice of my retirement, a piece of whatever savings we had left. They even took a swing at the house, claiming she'd contributed to its upkeep and improvement, enough to deserve a share. Then came the part that stung the most. They questioned my parenting. They said exposing her at the party proved I was unstable, vindictive, willing to weaponize public humiliation no matter who got hurt. They suggested giving me primary custody would endanger the child's emotional well-being. Buried in one of Gregory's filings was a line that summed up their whole argument. He humiliated her publicly. That was their card. They were betting a judge would care more about the way I exposed the truth than the truth itself. With Gregory painting me as some unhinged monster, Angela suggested something I didn't expect. "Clayton, I want you in therapy," she said. "Not for optics, though it'll help, but for you." So I went. First session, I sat on this soft gray couch in a room that smelled like candles and books. The therapist, Dr. Harris, was maybe mid-50s. Calm eyes. Didn't rush me. He let me dump the story, start to finish. The affairs, the slideshow, the party, the court papers. When I was done, he leaned forward. "Do you regret doing it that way?" he asked. I stared at the floor for a long time. "Some nights I do," I admitted. "Feels like I went nuclear. Feels like I dragged a lot of people into something they didn't ask for." "And the other nights?" he asked. "The other nights," I said. "I remember 2 years of being lied to, 2 years of being treated like I was less than. And I think maybe I didn't go far enough." He nodded. Didn't judge. Just wrote something down. I told him one more thing before I left. "Whatever happens, I'm not poisoning my daughter against her mom. I won't do that." He looked up. "Maybe you went too far," he said. "Maybe not. But that line you just drew, that matters. And if I wanted anyone to believe who I really was, it couldn't just be my therapist saying it." Angela's next move was simple. Let the people who see me day in, day out speak. She started with my neighbors. The couple next door had watched our family for over a decade. Cookouts, Christmas lights, school mornings. They told her how things were before 2 years ago. Normal arguments, normal stress, but love in the mix. Then they described the shift. Danielle colder, more cars they didn't recognize, me looking more worn down, but still mowing lawns, taking Maddie to school, hauling groceries inside. My coworkers wrote statements too. Managers and floor staff who knew my schedule, who could say exactly how many late shifts I pulled and how often I mentioned Danielle working late again. They backed up the timeline without even meaning to. Angela matched all of it. Witness accounts, time cards, text messages, credit card charges. Every piece snapped together like a puzzle that only made one picture. There was no emotionally unstable version of me in those pages, just a tired man trying to keep his house from falling in. At the bottom of each statement was a signature, ink on paper. People putting their name next to who I really am. It wasn't loud like that slideshow, but in court, quiet truth weighs a lot. You can't blow up a life that loud and expect the shockwave to stop at your front door. Word got around faster than I expected. Atlanta's big, but circles are small, especially clinic circles, gym circles, school circles. People talk, screenshots travel. Danielle didn't get fired from the dermatology clinic, not officially, but it got uncomfortable. Patients whispering, co-workers choosing sides, a couple of reps refusing to come by when she was working. Eventually, management offered her a transfer to a different branch across town. Fresh start, new faces, same guilt. Ryan, the sales rep, didn't land as soft. His company found those public posts, the photos with a client's employee, the mess at her birthday. They didn't make a scene, they just stopped sending him. Then they stopped employing him. Last I heard, he packed up and left the state. Troy, the trainer, learned real quick that bragging about married women is bad for business. Female clients dropped him. The gym started cutting his hours. His name stopped getting mentioned in the who's good conversations. Danielle moved into a nice enough apartment in Brookhaven. Her dad signed the checks. Same pattern, different address. People say, cheater's gonna cheat, like it's a joke. But actions have consequences. Sometimes they just take a little while to show up. Then came the day all that paper finally had to breathe in a courtroom. The first hearing wasn't the big finale, but it set the tone. Angela had me in a pressed shirt, tie a little too tight, folder in my lap. Danielle sat on the other side with Gregory, done up like the picture of a hurt wife. Her dad behind her, arms folded, jaw clenched. Angela started simple. Timeline. She walked the judge through dates, times, charges, photos from Buckhead, the Midtown hotels, Screenshots of texts right beside receipts. The witness statement from the woman at the restaurant. My work records. Our daughter's school schedule. None of it was shouted, just laid out piece by piece. Then came the slide Angela printed from that anniversary night. The judge looked at the photo from the investigator. Danielle dressed up with Ryan outside the steakhouse. Then at the highlighted restaurant charge. Then at the text where she told me she was stuck at work. His face barely moved, but his eyebrows did. Just a small frown, right there, at the anniversary date. Gregory tried to push back, talk about context and emotional neglect, but the air in the room had already shifted. The judge didn't rule that day. He just said, "I've seen enough for now," and set dates for the next round. Walking out, I didn't feel like I'd won. But for the first time, it felt like the truth wasn't just mine anymore. Gregory tried a new angle. She was lonely, neglected, emotionally starved. Angela didn't even raise her voice. She simply laid down the record. Steady home life, sudden shift, new schedule, new lies, new men. A straight line, not a sob story. "Your Honor," she said, "this wasn't loneliness. It was opportunity." When it came to Madison, I didn't want to win by tearing her mother apart. I wanted to win by showing who I was when no one was looking. Angela laid out my schedule for the judge. Who did school drop-offs, who handled pickups, who helped with homework most nights, who took her to doctor and dentist appointments, calendars, emails with teachers, after-school sign-in sheets. She talked about our home, same house, same school district, same bedroom Madison had slept in since she was little, same neighbors who watched her grow up riding her bike down the cul-de-sac. Then she asked me questions in front of the court. "Do you badmouth her mother to her?" "No," I said. "Not once, even when I wanted to." "Have you arranged counseling for Madison?" "Yes, twice a month. I go to my own sessions too." We talked about rules in my house, bedtimes, chores, screen limits. Not perfect, but steady. Structure with room for her to still be a kid. Angela ended it simply. "Your Honor, primary custody with Mr. Monroe isn't about punishing Ms. Monroe. It's about the best interest of Madison, stability, honesty, and a parent who doesn't use her as a weapon." I looked at the judge, then down at my hands. This part wasn't about revenge. This part was about being a father. Near the end of it all, the judge looked over his glasses and said, "Mr. Monroe, is there anything you'd like to add before I rule?" I stood up. My knees felt heavy, but my voice didn't shake this time. "Your Honor," I began, "I know that slideshow at the birthday party is a big part of why we're here the way we are. So I'll say this first. I am sorry for how public I made it. I know I shocked a lot of people who didn't deserve to be pulled into our mess." I took a breath. "But for 2 years I was lied to in private, gaslit, made to feel crazy in my own home. I wasn't going to walk into this courtroom as the guy who snapped while she played the victim. I wanted the people who'd been told I was the problem to see what really happened." I nodded toward the bench. "I respect this court. That's why every single thing my lawyer brought you is real. No stories, no spin, just what she did, when she did it, and how she paid for it, with my money and our daughter's stability." I glanced down, then back up. "I don't hate my wife, Judge. I hate what she chose. All I'm asking is that you protect my little girl and the home I've tried to build for her." I let the last line land exactly how I meant it. I won't lie to protect a lie. "Ms. Monroe," the judge said, "your actions were reprehensible." And he listed the facts, not theories, not feelings. Multiple affairs, financial misuse, sustained deception. Then he delivered the hits clean. No alimony. House remains with Mr. Monroe. Primary custody to the father. Danielle didn't scream. She just folded. You'd think that would be the end of it. It wasn't. Her father couldn't swallow the verdict. Pride's an expensive habit, and he's been feeding his for decades. Within weeks, Gregory filed an appeal. Pages and pages of errors. Unfair weight given to evidence. Excessive reliance on adultery. Translation: we didn't like losing. They poured more money into it. New briefs, new hearings, more billable hours. I didn't match their noise. Angela answered point by point with the same thing we'd had from the start. Dates, photos, receipts, statements, law. No drama, just gravity. The appellate court looked everything over. Same timeline, same proof, same law on adultery and alimony. No magical loophole appeared just because her dad wrote bigger checks this time. Appeal denied. no alimony, house still mine, custody order unchanged. After that, the noise started to die down. The whispers in town faded. People found new gossip. The party became a story told less and less. I went back to work. Same Walmart, same name tag, same aisles. Clock in, clock out. Take care of my kid. Cut the grass. Pay the taxes. The law stood. So did I. Life didn't snap back to normal. It settled into something new. Madison stayed with me most school nights. We built a rhythm that didn't depend on anyone else showing up. Mornings were cereal and packed lunches, her backpack thumping down the hallway while I yelled, "Shoes, Maddie, not socks! Shoes!" After work, I'd pick her up. We'd swing through the drive-thru once in a while, but most nights it was simple stuff. Pasta, chicken, frozen veggies thrown in a pan. We'd eat at that same old wooden table, just with one chair empty. Homework at the kitchen counter. Science projects spread out with glue sticks and markers. She'd roll her eyes at my dad jokes, but she'd still laugh. On weekends when she wasn't with her mom, we'd hit the park or the movies, or just walk the aisles at Walmart while I grabbed groceries and she tried to sneak snacks into the cart. Little by little, I started fixing the house up. Painted a room, repaired a loose step, changed out a light fixture that had been crooked for years. Nothing fancy, just taking back my space. One night, I stood in the kitchen, lights low, dishes drying in the rack. On the fridge was a picture of me and Madison, arms around each other, both of us actually smiling. The glow from that cheap overhead light hit that photo just right. For the first time in a long time, the quiet didn't feel empty. It felt like peace. It was a regular night on the surface. Homework done, dishes put away, TV humming low in the living room. Madison was already in bed, light off, just that little glow from the hallway spilling in. I was tucking her in when she hit me with it. "Dad, did Mom cheat on you?" I just stood there for a second, hand on her blanket, feeling my chest tighten. I'd been waiting for that question since the night of the party. I sat down on the edge of the bed and took a long breath. "Yeah," I said quietly. "She did." Her eyes welled up. "So, is that why you hate her now?" I shook my head. "I don't hate her, Maddie. I hate what she did. That's different." I told her, as simple as I could, that adults mess up, that her mom made choices that hurt our family, but that none of it had anything to do with her. I reminded her of all the ways her mom still shows up for her, texts, calls, weekends, little things. "She loves you," I said. "So do I. That's never changing." She scooted closer, arms around my waist. "Truth doesn't mean hate," I whispered. "It just means we don't pretend." I held her a little longer that night. Every now and then, usually when the house is quiet and the clock feels too loud, my mind walks back into that party. The clink of her dad's glass. The gasp when the first picture hit the screen. Danielle's voice cracking on, "Turn it off." My own words hanging in the air heavier than I meant them to. Do I question it? Yeah. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. There are days I think I should have handled it behind closed doors, filed the papers, handed the evidence to a judge, skipped the spectacle. Maybe it would have spared some people shock they didn't earn. Maybe it would have been cleaner for Madison down the line. Then I remember the other side. 2 years of being made to feel small. 2 years of half-truths and late nights and "you're overreacting." 2 years of my loyalty being turned into a joke in someone else's DMs. She humiliated me for 2 years in private. I showed 5 minutes of truth in public. I'm not saying that makes me a hero. I'm not saying it makes me right. I'm saying that's what I did. And from here on out, I'm more interested in the man I am after that night than the one I was in it. So here's where I'm at now. My number one job is still the same as it was before any of this blew up. Protect my kid. Make sure Madison has a roof over her head, a light on in her room, and a father she can actually trust. If I lost everything else but kept that, I could live with it. I chose truth over silence. Maybe too loud, maybe too hard, but I was done swallowing lies just to keep up appearances. My name isn't a punchline anymore. My house is still my house. I can look in the mirror without wondering if I'm crazy. If this whole mess taught me anything, it's that marriage without honesty is just roommates with paperwork. Love isn't enough if respect's dead. I'm not healed, not all the way. but I'm getting there. One quiet dinner, one therapy session, one dumb joke from my kid at a time. Some people call me a monster. Some call me a legend. I don't know which one I am. So I'll leave it with you. You decide, was I wrong or did justice finally show up? Drop a comment, hit subscribe, and stick around. Because real stories don't end when the papers are signed.